Texela e-conference, the conference wing of Texela Group, aspire the individuals to participate, publish articles, and also upskill their knowledge through virtual conferences. Texela e-conference has been hosting online conference in the fields of marketing and academics since its inception. The event hosted by Texela Conference has so far attracted over 15,000 plus attendees and 3,000 plus keynote speakers. Texela e-conference, in association with Texela American University Guyana, one of the leading medical universities in South America, has successfully conducted 10 international conferences since 2014. So I personally welcome you all once again for the Global Digital Marketing Summit, GDMS Edition 4. And so this is the second day of our conference, and we have lined up with great topics for you to ponder on, and thought-provoking speakers from all around the globe. So it's time to measure and analyze the current digital efforts that we do on the market. So to start with, the first topic: how to blend online and offline marketing to maximize effectiveness and attribution using AI. So our speaker, Dr. Simon Biltcliffe. Hi. He's the founder and CEO of WebMart. Simon is an award-winning CEO, international public speaker, and business expert, widely acclaimed for his talks on his Marxist capitalist business model, as well as talks on employee motivation and running a thriving organization in the 21st century. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
So,
to it.
Yeah, so it's all yours.
Fantastic. So thanks for the introduction. I'll share screen now. I've got a little presentation that I can show you with. That's not the right screen. That's my, let me see where I've got. Let's cancel that. Can you, I'm taking it, you can see my Trans Classics on there. I'll shut that down. Can you see a PowerPoint presentation here?
Yes, Simon.
You can?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. I can't see that. So good. Making sure you've got it. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to cover off a topic which has really come to the fore in the UK, where I'm based, which is making sure that marketers look at both sides of the equation, not just the digital. You know, we're all seeing the rise of e-commerce, but blending the online with the offline and having the holy grail of e-commerce, which is attribution of your marketing spend. So whatever you spend your marketing, there's all of these channels that you're putting into. How do you attribute the impact, the sales, the cross-selling opportunities, the acquisition of new clients, etc., not just using online metrics, but using offline metrics as well, because it's that blend of those two together that really has impact in the marketing world. And artificial intelligence and real-time analytics of data means that there is a significant opportunity to use a much faster iterative cycle than the more traditional campaign approach that you can do. So what I'm going to do is just give you a brief overview of the approach that we're taking with our customers who are, you know, at the very top end of scale, people like Microsoft, down to the more middle-sized companies who are looking to blend online and offline together. There's a lot of e-commerce businesses that have never used offline marketing, who are looking to keep the customers that they've won through the times of COVID, and get a richer, deeper relationship with them going forward. So instead of them being a one-hit wonder, they get an ongoing relationship with them. So an artificial intelligence in the mix allows you to do that at scale, which is pretty impressive. So this is what I'll be covering. I've only got 20 minutes and a bit of Q&A at the end of it. How and why offline channels should be part of the marketing mix. particularly relevant for people who've never used offline because it can be quite complex. How to measure the effectiveness of these channels. This comes to the attribution modeling, and how artificial intelligence can support the online and offline world working together. It's the same approach that you can take. It's a single client view that you've got. And as long as you're capturing the data and then replaying it back, not just on the online world, but on the offline world as well, it gives you the correct attribution of sales impact that you're trying to achieve through your marketing campaign. Offline marketing, what is it? Well, these are the key areas that typically are classed as offline marketing in the world. So you've got radio and TV, which again, strong ways of building your brand presence and gravitas. Obviously, you're hitting many more sensory levels. You know, as humans, we react to multiple sensory experiences, and all of these give you a much more tactile or impactful way of getting in your clients' brains your brand and the value proposition that you're trying to get across to them. So the radio and TV, letterbox marketing, well, that's physically anything that comes through the door. That could be packaging in the way of e-commerce fulfillment. So you've got inbox promotion and on-box promotion when you physically deliver it. So there's plenty of space inside boxes to do it, and on the box that you send through, as well as door dropping, physically sending leaflets and brochures through the door, and mailing. Direct mail is a huge growth area in terms of how you can get relevant, timely communications in a physical form through the door and to the recipient. And it has much longer dwell time than an email or an Insta post or a digital marketing. It tends to be around there. If you look at the data, it has a peak and a long tail, and the majority of it's about 7 days that it typically is in the home, which is unique within marketing. Most of it's pretty transient, whereas this has a long tail of impact and gets your brand in front of people a lot more. Of course, there's the in-store environment, which is point of sale, point of purchase, where you look at the action of in the retail environment, or in an experiential sense, which may be kind of sampling and things like that. That has a real impact depending on the product that you're selling. And out of home, this is kind of billboards, sides of lorries, buses, etc. These are all kind of ways that you can broaden out your reach in the offline world. And all of these, a lot of these are not necessarily used by e-commerce businesses because they focus monodimensionally on the digital world. But there is a huge amount of opportunity to brand build and increase your impact by increasing the range of products in marketing that you use, the ways that you get it out through the channels. So that's the kind of area that I'll be focusing on today. So the rationale for using offline channels as a marketer, it really does impact your brand awareness. It gives you a great opportunity to have an ongoing engagement with customers rather than a transient one that you typically have with the digital media. Obviously, with the narrowing down of your opportunity to have third-party cookies in the digital world, obviously that's gone back a little bit with Google, but with Apple, that's right here, right now. You don't have that ease of multiple image tracking people through a website. So this really does augment your brand because it's multiple touch points, and it gives you gravitas or increased engagement. If you've got something physically in your hand, if you've got something that you see on a regular basis, be it a billboard or whatever, it really does give you an opportunity to build the brand that you've and the engagement with your customers. It's tangible, and going back to the haptics side of it, if you can touch something, feel something, it really gives you a different depth of haptic relationship with it. It is more, there are loads of stats out there. It is more memorable what you're actually trying to get across in your brand message, your value proposition, your offer, if you have something that is tangible. And as I say, it can be a box that you've sent through to them as a first user to build the rapport for repeat purchasing. It could be a lapsed customer. Typically, there are 4 programs that we run through this in terms of memorability. Obviously, it's the first-time user, so the land, the expand, which is the broadening out to the reach and the scope of the products and services you sell to that particular individual. There's the reactivation of lapsed customers, and particularly effective in that to bring the awareness back up and to get them to reorder, and also the referral economy. So those are the 4 key areas that we look to use it: land, expand, reactivate, and referral. So getting those 4 programs aligned up, both in the digital and offline world, gives you a huge scope and typically builds up your effectiveness by around about 70% than just doing it as an online offer only at those key touch points. It's very flexible these days. These campaigns used to be large and expensive and this, that, and the other. So in the same way that you do programmatic digital marketing, you can do programmatic direct mail. So for abandoned baskets, for example, you typically send out an email to somebody or a text or whatever to say you've left something in your basket. If you send it out as a letter, which you can do same day, as you would send out an email, next day it delivers, it typically has a significant uplift. And interestingly, on the reports that the attribution modeling we've done, you don't need to offer a discount for people to do it. The fact that you've thought about them, you've noticed them, you make it relevant to the product that's in their basket in real time, and it comes through their letterbox. It really has an impact in terms of converting people from being interested into being a customer. And that flexibility is because it's linked in to your eCRM, your customer relationship management tool. These things can be dynamically created in a physical form in exactly the same way as they're dynamically created in a digital form. It's no more work. You have to get the form, the layout done once, and then you fill it with contextually relevant information that you would do on the digital form, you're doing the physical form. And it reaches customers in the preferred channel. Different demographics have different preferences for how they receive information. And so whereas a younger generation, under 20 may want Insta and TikTok as a way of doing it. Anybody, when you get to the reach of the height of people's wealth, which is around kind of 50, income and wealth in the developing and developed world is around about 50 is the peak. This is where you tend to find that people quite enjoy having something sent through to them. So you can segment your marketing message all the way through demographically as well as geographically, and obviously the client archetype and the information you're trying to get to them. So it just gives you a much richer and a much broader way of approaching your target market. 2 holy grails in any marketing department is getting the key performance indicators, the KPIs for the campaign, getting them clear, understood, what does success look like, and attribution. There's many different ways people can attribute, and what you tend to find is people who haven't studied it quite often go for the last click attribution. So guess what? Everything is attributed to the digital channel because that's typically where the orders are gained. Whereas if you've got a more nuanced approach, there are many ways of attributing the purchasing to a different channel. We've got things like QR codes, which have gone gangbusters. They used to be seen as quite old-fashioned kind of things, been around 30 years. But in the COVID world, everything is driven with QR codes, and people are really comfortable using QR codes now. And obviously, these here things have all got, as soon as you hit a QR code, it takes you straight to the website. So if you print a QR code on anything, lorry side, what have you, box, piece of marketing material that you send through to the actual individual targeted to them, and you can capture that data, that call to action, straight from the physical piece of print, rather than asking them to key in something into a website, and you've got it attributed to the individual, to the offer, the medium, etc. Bespoke URLs is another way of doing it, which you can print, which allows you to have a slightly less elegant way of attributing it to a physical medium. And other ways is an actual bespoke call to action. So you get a, maybe a call, but it can have on the non-digital, the physical marketing medium, you can have a unique offer, and then you can attribute that only to the physical medium. And these are three easy to do ways of getting a more accurate way of attributing than either the first or last way you communicated with that customer, which is quite a lot of the time. It's a really crude measure if you just go for the actual thing that people did, because building up to that decision to buy, you will typically have multiple touch points with the customer. May have been the last time that you ordered, may have been something that they've seen in a store or whatever. And unless you can capture that, it's difficult to get a proper idea about the return on investment from your marketing. And these KPIs and attribution is a big area that you need to look at. And if anybody would like to get in touch with me on LinkedIn, I can send you a single page on different attribution modeling, which you may find useful. There are only two Simon Biltcliffes in the world, and I'm the one with the beard. So these are the ways that you can make sure that you're getting a great return to investment on anything, with or without AI. All artificial intelligence allows you to do is from your eCRM, your database, is it gives you a feed out. And obviously there are lots of privacy issues. In Europe, we have GDPR, which is a data security legislation that we have to do in different parts of the world. California has it, and different parts of the world have different things, but everybody is getting much more sensitive about personal data being sent out. So what we do is we make sure out of the database that you've got, the CRM database that you've got, we have a unique ID. We don't know who the customer is, but we've got an attributed user identification number that we can do with their attributes tied onto it, their age, gender, geographical location, previous buying habits. That feeds out every day. And so you have it building a profile of that person on each individual marketing touch point that you do with them, all automatically. Now, these things used to take a long time to learn, to teach, to data wrangle, as they call in artificial intelligence world. But now there are turnkey solutions out there where you can integrate that with your CRM within a day, and you start learning the next day, because as soon as you start getting the information in, so you can do many different types of tests to get many different feedbacks from how effective it is in real time. And this is really exciting. I mean, obviously you're aware of all of the great titans of the tech industry. They've been doing it for, a few years now, but most companies have never looked into integrating artificial intelligence with their sales pipeline and their marketing communications to their customers. And this is where you can't employ data analysts now because they're really expensive and everybody wants them, but you can bolt in an AI platform which self-learns relatively easily compared with what it would be even 12 months ago. And there are a number of them out there. We don't suggest anyone in particular. We're pretty agnostic on it. But what we do know is those fast feedback loops of everyday data from your customer base into this model allows you to finesse your campaign strategies and your touch point strategies on a one-to-one basis with your customer going forward. And it learns every time. So you can model new products, new services, new approaches to market in very fast order, be it digitally or offline. These things can happen really quickly now. And it gives you as a marketing person, a very clear steer as to the way that you're getting the best return on investment for your campaign and the best impact, whatever it is that you're trying to do for your brand in the marketplace. An example here is programmatic mailings. Excuse me. So what we used to do is if there was a certain trigger, lapse time that you wanted a feedback on a survey, abandoned baskets, all those touch points, reorder, dwell time, reactivation of customers, used to send out an email. That's got a much lower impact now. Spam filters are much more successful because if you've not opted in, quite often they'll disappear. People are much less likely to respond positively to something that comes digitally. And obviously they can unsubscribe really easily now because you have to, by law, put an unsubscribe button and inaction it. Whereas if you use offline, you generally have a much longer time that people look at things. So instead of an immediate delete or unsubscribe, they tend to open it, have a look at it, and then evaluate it better. If you include a QR code on there, they can quickly respond to it with the offer, with the whatever the call to action is on it. And of course, it's highly personalized to an individual. No two mailers that you send out are the same because it's driven from your database. And these are the things, it's contextually relevant for the recipient. It's easy to do for you as a brand manager to get your call to action out. It's an automated process. But you've got data capture then off the offline marketing, which feeds back into your dashboard so you can see the return on investment that you're getting, which is really, really powerful going forward. So that was it. That's me, 21 minutes of insight about how to use artificial intelligence and attribution in the world of offline marketing. We're much more used to it being on the online. You can do the same in the offline world now, which is a really new innovation in the world. So if you've got any questions, I guess now's the time to ask them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. So, dear participants, attendees, if you have any questions, please post it on to chat. I can read for you. And if you also can raise your hand if you have questions, we can allow you to ask the question directly to the presenter. So, that was a great insight about offline and blending of online and offline, and how does an AI fit into it, and what is the outcome that we can expect in terms of maintaining with our ROI. So that was really a great one, and we also have an appreciation here from McLeod. Good insight, well delivered. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, so expecting more questions to attendees, and meanwhile, Simon, Dr. Simon, if you could brief about the AI part. If we really want to consider about online and offline, what could be the best way of possibly blending them up? We did discuss on the call to action. So that is one way, is there any other tips that you could share?
Yeah, I've got, I think once you've got the desired outcomes from your customer journey, then you need to map each one of those into your CRM, and then have a plan of how you want to engage your customer base using at those certain trigger points all the way through, not just using the digital, but using the offline as well. And just look more fully at that. Typically, companies who know what they're doing with their customers have a desired journey that they want them to take. And if you've got those key moments of truth in your customer life cycle, your lifetime journey with them, then you need to make sure that you've got those triggers, that data trigger out in a timely way to those customers to engage them, to reactivate them, to do whatever you're ideally wanting your customers to, you want them to work with you. And then you need to look at the channel that you're going to use. And it's really easy just to look at digital, but there's a much lower impact than if you look at digital and the offline marketing channels that you've got. If you're wanting to really get the reach in them, then you need to look at ways of making sure that you have a standardized process at each touch point, having an online and an offline response mechanism to them. And I think that, and personalized to the individual. And this is where programmatic mailing augment e-programmatic solutions as well.
Oh, all right. So we have a question like how artificial intelligence may be the key to making marketing attribution work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be it's not a silver bullet, but marketing, you need to decide as a organization the approach that you have to attribution. There are many different ways to attribute your customers' actions if you're using multiple marketing channels, and most companies don't really look into that as comprehensively as they should. Once you've agreed what your approach to attribution is, artificial intelligence can be focused, the learning can be focused on making sure that you actually tailor the engine to deliver to those attribution points, because obviously that's how you're going to be capturing it. That's what you want as a organization to measure the return on investment that you are delivering through your marketing message. So number one, obviously, each campaign or each approach needs to have a key performance indicators. What is it that you want them to do? Secondly, get the attribution points. How are you going to measure those performance targets? And artificial intelligence supports delivery at scale and automates the delivery at scale of all of the analytics behind that to allow you to grow your business presence really effectively going forwards. But you need to make sure you're understanding what it's doing, the AI engine. It comes with biases in it, like everything else does. Like we've all got our own inbuilt bias. Artificial intelligence engines have the same. It will read the data, but it's measuring it against what you set. So if you make sure you set the AI engine up rightly to what you want to deliver, then you'll get the right outcome. So it turbocharges, it makes it a lot faster, and it automates an awful lot of what would otherwise have to be done by a campaign manager manually on a spreadsheet and all with pivot tables and all of this kind of stuff, which is a hideous waste of time for most people who are in marketing. They hate that side of it. This is a way of automating that analytics side of it and making it much faster, so you can have much more iterative campaigns going forward, which is really quite powerful.
All right. Bringing back to my first question that I checked with you on, there is another question here on how to blend online and offline marketing to maximize effectiveness and attribution using AI.
Yes. How to do it is making sure you understand what value. Typically, people these days understand the digital world. Because you have to understand it in marketing these days to be relevant. It's investing a bit of time to look at the channels that I alluded to earlier and see how that can impact your brand, your approach to market, and partner with somebody in your local area. There'll be lots of integrated marketing companies like ourselves in your own geographical area who can advise you over the full width of the marketing panoply, the choices that you have. If you look at a digital marketing agency only, for example, guess what? You're only going to get digital solutions. If you look at an integrated marketing company, you will actually obviously have them advise you over the full range of services that you've got.
That's
so
true.
Just make sure that the people that you talk to, or the research that you do, looks on both sides, because it tends to be quite narrow, the range of services that you're offered to get your message out to market. So to spend a bit of time to one side, just simply to look at how these offline channels could work with your brand, with your offer, and then either you can deal directly with people who supply those marketing services, or typically customers look for an agency who can bring those together, understand your brand message, and deliver those to you wherever you are.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got that. So thank you very much, Dr. Simon Biltcliffe. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's a great insight about AI. Okay, how to fit into the blending of online and offline. So thank you very much, and yeah, have a blessed day.
Have a good Friday. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. You too.